Hi there, welcome to our channel. I'm Vic.
I'm Nick.
And we're Envy Board Gaming. And today we're looking at Nucleum. This is a game designed by Simone Luciani and David Turksey. It is for 1 to 4 players and it was published by Board and Dice. Nick is going to go through how you play and then we're going to give our reviews.
Hey everyone, welcome to the table. We are set up for a 2-player game of Nucleum by Board and Dice. Here we are. You can see a lot of callings here for these railways. We're doing connections to different networks in order to energize different buildings. Right now it's part of setup. I'm just going to skip the setup part, but as part of setup we had some neutral buildings out here. We had some, it's a 2-player game, so there are some things that are blocked off from us building. And we have these plants that are already preset on the board. They are marked as well. So we have different coal places we can get coal up at the top right and over here in mid left. And we can acquire nuclear power as well, which is more powerful than the coal during the game. So I think what I'm going to do is a brief overview of what you're doing in the game as far as your actions, what will cause the end of the game, how you're going to get points, and things like that. So this will not be a full rules overview by any means. So if we look at our board, we're going to check end game right here, and it's going to be different for a different player count. Also, the sides of the board are different for a different player count. So we're on the 1 to 2 player side. It is signified very top left of the board. All right, so we're going to count down. As soon as all 3 of these have been placed, the game end will trigger. Everyone will get 1 more turn, and we'll all have equal amount of turns. So let's go over the actions we can do. We can do one of 3 things as a high-level action. We can play an action on our board. We start with these actions I'm going to put right here on the table. We have letters A, B, and D. I have the D projects, so I can do any of these 5 actions. That's the main thing I'm going to do on my turns. I'm going to pick one of my action tiles here and slot it on my player board. If I decide to do one of those actions, I can also, in addition, complete one of these contracts that I have. So if I have any of these contracts on my board, I can do that contract. Or if I have completed one of these public contracts, I can do one of those contracts. I can only do one contract, and I can only do it if I'm doing an action right here. So let's put these aside and go over the other 2 options I have. I could place a railway, and that would be me flipping this tile and putting it on a railway to expand my network. Right now we have no network, so when we first put a building out, that will become the very first part of our network. So if I put a building here, my network would just be right here. However, if I did as my next action, put a railway, I would flip this, I would see if I match any colors, and then perform the action. So in this case, I would probably try to flip it because this is a wild and this is purple. So these colors match, and I can do the action listed here. So when I do those actions, then I will complete those actions, which we're going to go over when we cover the crux of the game. And I would flip this over and put one of my workers right there to show that that is my railway. That is your second action choice. And your third and final action choice is to do what is called a recharge. That is mostly going to be, think of it as an income phase and getting your actions back. All right, those are your 3. So what I'm going to go over right now are the crux, the main actions you're going to do. You can develop, so let's go over this one by one. I'm going to use this cheat sheet and just follow in order. You can develop over there at the top left of the board. You can acquire any of these develop tiles. They're just like the ones that you start the game with. You start with 5, but you can get more. And when you do one of these actions, you're going to do the top and the bottom in any order. You can pass on doing one or the other as well if you do not wish to do one of the actions. So as a develop, I would acquire 1 or 2 of these tiles, and they have a cost. I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but 0, 1, 1, 2, 2. If you acquire 1, you just go ahead and pay the cost. 0, 1, 1, 2, or 2. If you want to do 2 of those, you want to acquire 2 of them, it's going to cost an additional 2 coins. So for my turn, let's say I wanted these 2. It is a 0 cost and a 1 cost. So then plus 2 because I acquired 2, so I owe 3 coins. At the end of my turn, these will shift to the right, and then we'll refill from here. there are 3 stacks of these we didn't set up. So that's actually going to be one of the game triggers as well. So we'll go over that at the very end of what triggers the game end. You can see that there are 3 things. There's only 3 things we need to trigger game end. All right, so that's developed. Pretty simple. You pay for a tile, you add the tile to your hand of tiles that you can do for actions. The next one is contract. Also very simple. You can take one of these face-up contracts on offer and then slot it on your player board. My player board I have off the side of the camera, but I will bring it over. You can see once you slot, you're going to slot one of these. We actually start with one, so it wouldn't be this one at the beginning of the game because there's going to be one right here. You don't get the bonus for the very first one you slot and during setup, the starter contract. But these others you can slot and you will get a bonus. 2 coins, 1 worker, or 1 cube on one of your mines. One of those green cubes to power nuclear. Or 2 achievement points. Now achievement points are not the same as victory points. We'll go over that soon. Alright, so that's contract. Take one of those and slot it in one of those spots and get the immediate benefit of wherever you slot it. All right, next, urbanize. Urbanize is take one of those buildings I just showed on my player board and pay the costs associated. So you can see the symbol here for urbanize. If I were to play that tile that has that, I can spend 2, 3, 4, or 5 coins to do one of these buildings. You have to put it on the symbol that correlates right there. You do not have to do these in any type of order, but it will cost a lot more if you do one of these. And also, it'll be hard to power these, to energize these at the bottom near the beginning of the game. So let's just say I'm going to urbanize this. It's going to cost 2 coins. And my first urbanize action, I can put this building wherever I would like because we have no network, so we are creating a network. So in my example, I'm just going to go dead center right there because I do have the symbol that matches one of those. And I pay the 2 coins that it costs to put that out based on my player board. All right, that is urbanize. Next, we're going to do industrialize. Industrialize, you're going to take either a turbine or a mine from the right side of the board, and you can see all these symbols are nicely labeled there. And these are going to cost workers. At the beginning of the game, we start with 2 workers. However, if it is one of your first games, it is encouraged that you take 3 workers until all parties are used to the game. So if we have 2 workers, like normal, we can go ahead and spend one of those workers to put either a turbine or a mine out there. Mines are good because they can hold nuclear power, which is more powerful than coal, and turbines are good to help you transport. They also give you bonuses right here. It says like when you energize, it costs 1 less for coal and different bonuses. This one will be based on the D technologies. So this one, every time I energize, I get a worker, and so on. So I can place those out, assuming there's a spot for me. So right now, I don't have a spot for any of those. You can tell because they're different shaped. So you can see these circle ones are good for the turbines, and these hex ones are good for the mines. Also, you get an instant bonus when you place on some of these. So this one, you would get a cube right away on one of the on your mine that you put there. But you also have to pay 2 coins. Thaler is what they call the coins in this game, but I'm just going to keep calling them coins. All right, so that is the action of industrialize. Next, we're going to go over energize. So we have 1 building. Perfect. I can try to energize. However, I have no connection to anything. There are no rails leading out. So I would want to connect, let's say, to a rail. So if I were, and hypothetically, let's say this was here, I am connected to the rail because there's a pre-printed rail right there. So if I want to energize, it's going to cost 3. So let's say I played this tile to energize. I can do either of these actions in any order, so I could get a worker or 2 coins, and then I could energize or vice versa, energize and then take those. So let's say I take my coins and I energize. So what I'm going to target is my own. This needs 3 energy. Let's take a look at it. It needs 3 energy in order for me to flip this tile to energized. So let's see how I'm going to come up with 3 energy. Some of these tiles, not my starter one that I'm going to use for this, will have a +1 energy. So then I'll know I only need 2 energy to do that. However, this one doesn't have that, so I need all 3 energy. So since I'm connected to these right here, this coal, I could spend 3 coins to get 3 coal. Simple as that in this case. So what I would do is I would spend the 3 coins, and then each of these are going to flip, and they become more expensive. So I bought 3 of them flip. Coal is always available. Even when these tiles have all been maxed out, they are always available, because what happens is, let's say I buy 6 more coal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's going to cost at a max 3, but it is infinite. You don't get physical coal. You're just paying as you need it. But it will now, since we've already got all the discounted coal beginning of the game, it is all going to be 3 if we take from here. But there's another spot over there. If I can connect there, I can get cheap coal again. But at the beginning, coal starts at 1. And it's easy if you started in one of the corners. There are some negatives to being in a corner, obviously, but they're very positive that you can go ahead and energize quicker if you have the currency to spend. All right, that is energize. When you energize, you're going to flip this over, put it back where it is, and you're going to get the instant bonus. So moving up 1 on my income track and getting 3 achievement points. So achievement points they come in 1 and 5 denominations. I would take 3 of these and store them away, and that'll go over what they're used for when we go ahead and do a recharge. So that would be energize. Now, briefly, if you, I want to do low, like a quick teach. So briefly, let's say I had a mine out. I had already built this mine, and let's say it had a cube on it. So it has 1 power. It is actually 2 power. 1 power with coal, but 2 power here with these nuclear power. So if I had this all connected, I can always spend 1. Turbines increase that value of how many I can send. But right now, I can spend 1 if I were connected. Again, I have to be connected and use this to get 2 power to refresh. So I wouldn't have to spend, let's say, 6 coins when these are all gone to get 2 power. I can instead spend 1 of these cubes, and that would be equal to 6 coins worth of coal later in the game. Hypothetical. So it's the same logic with the connections. It's just a difference of how much can you transport and such. All right, so that's energize. We covered all the base actions. So let's go over what would happen if we did cover the rail too, putting a rail out. So we don't have to do much of that. So let's go over a couple things on our player board. How about that? I mentioned that I'm starting with D technologies. So these are all slid over to the left at the beginning. However, I could earn these bonuses. Sometimes they appear on our buildings. Let me grab one that does. So you can see at the bottom right of that tile, that's going to be my bonus when I flip it. So I'm going to get one of my level 1 technologies with this one and 3 achievement. These are all end game points right there, and this is to show that it's energized, that light bulb. Whereas if it was like this, it's saying how much energy it needs to be energized. Okay, so I can do one of my level 1s if I finish that, and I have 3 choices there. They also have a handy sheet right here that says what all your techs do, so you can always look at it and then make your best decision instead of having to look for symbology in the rulebook. So let's say I wanted to, early game, I was going to plan on putting a bunch of rails. I'd probably want to do this first one because every time I put a worker on one of my rails, I get an achievement point. Every time I take a contract, I get an achievement point. Right now, I can energize, and I don't have to go by the network rules. So I can, not energize, I said energize. Industrialize, I believe is the word I was looking for, yes. So that's a one-time action. Anything that has 1x means I can just do it right now. So I can take a tech tile from the main board at any cost, really, because -2, and then just go ahead and put my worker on it instead of acquired it and losing one of mine. So things like that. They also have some things that get you out of jams. You know, get workers, get coins with workers, and so forth. Those are anytime actions on your turn. So I just wanted to show you that before I jump into the last choice, which is to do a recharge. So we've covered 2 choices. Either put a railway out with one of your tiles, or play a tile to the top of your board. So I didn't show the top of my board, but you would slot these right here. Any action you did, you're going to slot right there. So the more actions, actually the better because of this phase, the recharge. So you're going to gain income. So let's say, excuse me, let's say that our board was something like that. You're going to take the left value as long as you have actions in these spots as far as it goes. You can see these hashed marks. So if I had a spot here, I'm good. I can take the value of all of these. However, if I only did 2 actions, I would only get 7 coins instead of 8. So if in this situation, I would be foregoing a lot of bonus if I only did 2 actions and I did a recharge. So let's go over the recharge. The pretty obvious as far as getting your income here. Don't explain that, except that you get money, you get workers, you get victory points. If you were ever to exceed, you're going to get victory points over here. Also note at the end of the game, you get points if you exceed, if you go to these last 3 spots in either of these right there. Those are end game points. If they're in purple, that ribbon's in purple, that means end game. So you'll see that in a lot of spots. If it's in green, that means right now you're going to get it. Okay. So recharge means I get that income. I also get my tiles back into my hand. All that good income stuff. We're also going to move one of the stars. I'm not sure if it's on camera. Yeah, barely, right over here. My star is going to go on based on my achievement points. Remember, I said victory points and achievement points, totally different things. So it's actually a thing called milestone. So you're going to go over here and put on this milestone tracker. There are tiers and segments. Just know that you can't be on the same level with one of your stars. So I couldn't be here and here. Technically, if I had to put at the very bottom, I would have to put, if I had to put the 1 tier, I'd have to actually go off the board to the bottom 0, which is a loss of 3 points. So this is going to be based on the number of achievements I got. So me doing that, and let's say that's all I did all round, I would be on the 3 spot. And then I would turn that in. There's a helpful thing right here. Get your income, move a star on over, your star on over to the milestone area. Then we're going to discard all of our tokens, all of our achievement tokens. We're going to get our tiles back. And then it's saying we're going to get points. So in this case, 2-player game, the player that got the highest amount of achievement in that round is going to get 6 points, and the person that got the second is going to get 2 points. That will all be tracked right here. And again, the stars come off from here. This is also one of the end game triggers. That's why I'll remove these. Let's say, so this factors in, the point thing, the 6 and 2, factors in when the second person in a 2-player game does this action of recharge. And then when we've all done it 3 times, that means all our stars are on the board. This is going to be one of the end game triggers. The person that triggers one of those end game triggers is going to get 3 points immediately. And we're going to put this here to note that this is done. This one is done. We have one of the end game triggers met. Another end game trigger is when we run out of these tiles. When we run out of these tiles, again, 3 points to whoever does that. That goes here. Let's say we ran out of this one first. These can come out over here, no problem. So we would fill that up. Run out of that. We put those there. And same thing over here. If we run out of these tiles, there are 3 stacks of these. 3 small stacks. We're going to run out of those, and this will reveal that as well. We would put that there. Another endgame trigger is somebody that scores 70 points. They have this marker right below the 70 on the track. I'm not sure if it's on camera or not, but that would be an endgame trigger. And lastly, if somebody did all their tech tiles, there is a spot for it as well. All right, so then we have a bunch of points to add up. I'm not going to go through all the end game points. I went through the triggers. Whoever has at the end is going to be the winner. If you little reference, though, it is on this board. It goes through all the points. I should go through these because this is handy. So based on, there's a segment here. Based on the segment that the star is in, you're going to get a multiplier of any of these milestones here. So if you hit the star over here, you would get multiplier on this one. Also, the first person that gets a achievement marker on one of these is going to put this into one of their choice that they can produce nuclear power. Add that on, I guess. And yeah. Also, if you hit up here, you're going to notice, if you can see it on camera, that there is a 3 level. So you can get a 3-level development if you were to hit up here. Instead of putting one of these out, you'll get a level 3 technology from your board activated, which is super handy because they always have that one at the bottom who's going to give you straight out victory points for doing something. So that's always nice to have that one slid over to give you extra points at the end. But there you go. That will give you a good feel, at least, of what's going on. Your network's going to expand as you build out and connect to different things, be able to energize different buildings, get a lot of points that way. There you go. That is the overview for Nucleum. Vic and I are going to go back up top and tell you what we think of the game.
All right, awesome. We are back. Thank you, Nick, so much for the overview of how you play Nucleum. As always, we don't do full teaches of the game necessarily, just gives you an idea of what it's about before we start talking about it. So let's start talking about it. I love how it looks right away. First impression of the game. Really cool 3-dimensional little power plants. One has a little smoke stack or smoke. What is it? Smoke?
Yeah.
Just smoke. Smoke coming out of the top. Like that. Like the green nuclear power things that you put out on top as the game progresses.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that it looks nice overall.
It looks nice. It looks complex. It is pretty complex.
Mm-hmm.
We got to be honest, that even if we don't feel like it is, because we play a lot of games, it is. It is a complex game. I'm not going to teach this to just anybody. I'm going to note also in this one, this is only a 2-player review. We will be playing this at 4-player soon, maybe in a couple weeks. But for now, we've only played this a few times at 2-player only, so we haven't even tried the 4-player setup. We can't even weigh in if it's too crowded of a board or anything like that. So our review is going to be for a 2-player. So we're going to go through some positives and negatives. Vic started us out with how she likes how it looks. It does look good. It does look complex. The pieces are fine. Everything looks, there's color at least. You know, all these different cities have different color. So it does pop a little bit on the board. Components are good. I like the recessed boards that we have at our own player boards. I think the tech thing where they slide in the tech is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I really do like the recessed boards. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
To hold all those pieces, all the turbines, all the mines, all the buildings. Super
your
nice
tracker tracking your income.
Yeah, those can slide still, but yeah, everything else is locked in. You know, but
True.
It'd be nice. It's nice that you don't have to, pick up and slot back and pick up. You can just slide it over.
Or it's not just sitting on a piece of paper to be knocked.
Yeah,
that's what I meant.
Yeah, or some games actually have it where it's recessed in that it's up, but it falls in. So if I were to pick it up and show it on camera, the cubes would still be there. Like we just did one, the Monumental Edition of Clash of Cultures. Those have those cubes at the top right that if I pick up the board and try to show it, the cubes stay. So anyway, this is good dual layer boards. Things I like about actual gameplay. I like the action. It's a smooth action system. You have limited options, but those options you can do a lot with. So it doesn't feel like you're tied into any type of strategy necessarily. The way you're going to score, I feel like you have a huge advantage if you've played this game at least once. Because once you get to the end of your first game, you realize all of these things you would have changed. That would have scored you a lot more points.
Yeah.
So those milestones are a big example of that. You may not have been focusing on that because you're focusing on so much other things during the game that you don't even worry about what's actually scoring a lot at the end. And that's going to happen if you are your first time playing. One thing I'll say, so it feels like it's going to be a long game, but it's not. Once you learn the game, it's not a long game. So you trigger these end game things, and they come up pretty quick. Because if you're doing actions quick, you're going to wheel down these different tiles, be it contracts or be it the discovery type tiles, your action tiles. And you're also going to trigger a thing after 3 rounds, essentially.
Yeah.
After you've done 3 refreshes or recharges, they call it, one of those stars is gone. So that all 3 stars are gone after you do 3 refreshes. So that's another endgame trigger. One of those is gone. Score 70 points. One of those is gone. Get all your discovery tiles. One of those is gone. In a 2-player game, if 3 of those things happen, we're triggering endgame here.
Yeah,
and that comes up on you pretty quick. Especially when you want all those contracts or you want all those new tiles to put more actions or more trails. So I like that it actually speeds it up. It feels like it's going to be too long. It's going to overstay its welcome, and it doesn't. So.
Yeah, we started it late last night. It was like 10 o'clock at night. We were going to play, and I was sitting there stunned when we were about to start, just thinking about all the symbology and the board and, oh, what's going on? How do I get power to this place? What? And I couldn't even start my first action. I could only sit there. And then, well, a few minutes go by, and I realized, okay, this is going to go by. And then it was done by 11:30. It didn't take long at all. And that was with me sitting stunned for some time.
Yeah.
So.
Any other positives?
I like how quick it goes. I like how there's multiple ways to trigger the end, and it can come up quick. I like the shared nature of the network, like the fact that you build out a path and I can kind of jump on and also continue to that city too.
Okay.
Or if I need to use something that you've got, there is a way to do that. There's a way to exchange workers for money when you need it. I always like when you have a choice to be able to spend your resource in different ways and give you an out, like a wild resource or something. That's useful. It's not wild, but it's useful. And to have to think about the workers and more than just I'm going to place the worker way. The way you have to think of workers in this is as a resource as much as it's, are you going to put them down with a tile and expand the network, do the actions, lose that tile, and then like I did, and I didn't have any energize abilities for a while until the very end. So it's like things like that you got to consider. Are you going to give up that tile or use it in a different way? So I like that you can use these components and things in different ways with your basic set of actions.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, things that we maybe didn't care for. So for me, it's the setup. The setup isn't very friendly. It does take a bit to set up. You're going to have to customize the tiles you put out as far as the contracts and the action tiles. They tell you this whole process you have to complete, and then you have to lock off some things on the board, no matter what the player count is. Even if it's not a 2-player count, we're going to flip the board over and block some things out or put neutral tokens on them. Mm-hmm. So there's quite a bit that you have to go through every time you play. So it's one that we keep out and we try to play it twice. And we do have another session planned, hopefully. We'll see what happens tonight. But perhaps we can try to sneak a game in before we go to sleep tonight. It's a game that, like I said, we just play it, and it makes you want to play it again because you see everything that you would have done differently.
All the errors in your ways.
And
yeah.
we played it previously a couple times, and you just forgot. Me too. We both kind of forgot, like, oh, yeah, this is actually matters quite a bit. I need to focus on these different things, not just what's currently in front of me.
Yeah.
So, so my negatives were pretty straightforward, mostly setup related.
Yeah. I think for me, I didn't have to endure the pain of the setup, so I can't comment on that, but I could say that it looks like it is a lot to set up, even your own board. If you have to put out a lot of tiles and put them in the particular places that they go. But, I mean, hey, whatever, you're playing a board game. It's kind of to be expected that there'll be some setup. Negative, I'm still grasping a lot of the energy transfer. I know that Nick has explained it to me and he helps me with that part. That's the part that's the meatiest thing to me, is understanding the energizing, and when you just think you can do it and then you're like, we don't have any money. And money's so tight. So yeah, I think that is my only negative with the game, is the heaviness of it alludes to the fact that it makes it stressful. Okay. I gotta remember some stuff.
Yeah, that might be a negative too. I think the rulebook isn't as thorough with the energized action. I think it could give more examples, maybe that would make sense. But I love the cheat sheets. That's another thing I'll say. We have great cheat sheets, including the technologies. If you have a cheat sheet for each technology in the game, which is awesome. It's absolutely great. They don't have to cycle through pages and look for your own technologies. It's right in front of you. I love the cheat sheets in this game. Yes, there's a lot of them, but they're just well laid out. Great work. Great work, whoever did the cheat sheets.
Yeah, even I love when they give you like end game on there as well. They give you different phases. Those are all explained, and then we've got the technologies, as Nick mentioned, which are different for each player. There's some similar stuff, but then there's different text because you're not having the exact same technology.
Good iconography too.
Yeah.
So it will show you where those actions match up on the board. Board and dice is good for that. It'll show you all these different things that make sense. Like, this is endgame trigger because I see that red flag. I know that's one of them that reminds me. So, a lot of good things to say.
Yeah, not a lot of bad for me.
Score time. We'll go through first.
All right. My score for this game is an 8.3. I like it. I like heavy games. Nick and I do play heavier games It's fun. The theme, there's no animals. So
What's with that?
it could have been an
Nuclear
8-7.
animals, yeah.
Yeah, if there were some, three-legged animals hopping around or with three eyes or whatever. Yeah, just mess up
just
stuff.
Chernobyl over here.
Just for no reason, yeah. But no, maybe that would lower the score actually because it's sad. Yeah, never mind. Cancel. It's an 8-3. They don't need any animals. It's cool. It's a cool game. Yeah.
Nice. All right. I'm gonna be right there with you. 8-3. 8-3, mutual score. This is probably the third time we've ever matched, and we've done quite a bit of reviews, so I knew we'd be probably in the same ballpark. It's a great game, so 8-3, pretty high scores for this type of game. It feels like Brass Birmingham a little bit with the tracks. It has some callings of some games I can think of, but it's its own beast, so it's great.
We really enjoy it. Thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click the thumbs up. It does help grow the channel, so we do appreciate when you do that. And subscribe if you want to see more reviews. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.